Check the channel. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I think I got the producer studio mic on for you. Let's check your YouTube channel. Can you guys still hear me?
I hear the music on the YouTube playing.
Okay, great. So I think I got the producer studio mic on for you. Check your YouTube channel. Can you guys still hear me? So I think you're live. I think I got the producer studio. Check your YouTube channel. Can you guys still hear me? So I think you're live.
We have an altcoin that you just might want to know about. I got an altcoin gem that I've been watching that may double up. You never know. Something that you might want to stay towards the end. A little dangle, a little carrot there for you to keep you guys entertained. So we're going to bring it to Crypto Muser, the expert on the XRP SEC case. He's heavily invested, so it's his personal interest to know almost every facet and piece of information that comes out of this beautiful case. Now, this case has, as we always keep saying, the fun idea, the ripples throughout the entire cryptocurrency industry. If certain things are broken down, the SEC will lose certain parts of its ability to regulate in certain ways. This will actually help towards expansion. And, Mike Novogratz was coming hard. I like him going hard, saying, these are the rules that we need to regulate and do it properly. And the regulations need to actually be, democratic and regular for growth. Like, they can't just be a slam hammer down, which is the way they've been doing, regulating through basically
enforcement.
Yeah. So take it away, Crypto Muser. Let us know what's going on. How you doing, by the way? How's your morning going? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm doing the same thing as you. The whole daylight savings thing always messes me up. I know it messes everybody else up. So I'm kind of delayed like everybody else too, but I'm doing good, man. I'm moving out of my house. It's been crazy. It's 25 years in this house, so it's been weird. Just selling everything, and I'm just like selling everything. It is. I'm not taking. I live on an island, so like getting it off the island, like couches and furniture and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, man. I'm just gonna sell it all and buy some new stuff, later. But yeah, it's been fun though because I'm looking forward to starting the new off the island, like couches. I've just heard my delay there. Yeah, just good to start a new chapter in Boston. I'm psyched about. Lived in Boston, 10 years back, so I know the area really well. You grew up there, so you know all about Boston. But that's besides the fact. So the whole deal with the case that's crazy right now, and what you just said was this fair notice defense that just the ruling just came down. That has a lot to do. We've always said it has a lot to do with all of crypto, but that specific filing has a lot to do with crypto because now the judge said that Rick can now argue in the case that they had no fair notice that they were doing something illegal from day one, that they were selling securities, right? So now they go to court, or if they go to court, I still think they're going to settle now because this ruling is that important. But if they go to court, now they can use that argument and say they didn't have fair notice. And even in the filing the judge made, the judge actually said that, I think the argument the SEC was trying to make is that, the reason why you guys should have known is not that we told you that it was illegal, but we went after 72 other cryptocurrency platforms or whatever. We started 72 other cases, and you should have known from those enforcement cases that you were doing something illegal. And the judge was like, nah, we ain't having that, because those cases had nothing to do, had like totally different cases, had nothing to do with the fair notice argument. It was just like the SEC was obviously did not want that argument to be had during the case because it was that big, right? So now that the judge said, no, the SEC is denied, you can make the argument in the case. What that does is that opens up, when the SEC goes after other cryptocurrencies in the future, and they will. Now that those companies can use the same argument and say, guess what? You guys didn't give us fair notice. How are we supposed to know that we were doing something illegal when you didn't give us any rules to go by? And that's been the whole thing against the SEC. It's like you're gonna kill innovation in this country and around the world, because the SEC, the United States is the most powerful country in the world. So whatever the SEC does has a lot to do with the whole world. So you're gonna tell me you're not going to make any clear and concise rules, but you're just going to be, all right, like Coinbase did. Remember Coinbase came with their lending product, right? Coinbase went in, talked to the SEC, was like, all right, this is a product we want to, come with, what's up? Let us know what's up. And they're like, okay. And they like basically got all the information on what they were doing. And then when they left the building, they sent them a letter later being like, actually, we're going to sue you if you come out with that product. Like, how is that, how is that behavior, like normal behavior that you can do in this country, right? And that's what kills innovation, dude. That's what kills innovation, at least in this country too, because if the SEC is going to, put this fear out that you can't start companies with crypto, then those crypto companies are just going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to Singapore. They're going to go to Japan, Switzerland. So the biggest thing I think that happened was that executive order, because what that executive order did was it kind of cut out the SEC. I read the whole thing. It didn't have it, it didn't say like SEC, you need to do this. It was like basically, hey, SEC, you have to get together with all the regulatory bodies and get this thing right. You know what I'm saying? Like Congress, even everybody get together and do it, because the SEC has been basically taking this crusade by themselves to like come after every crypto company. And it's like, that's just not the way to do it, right?
All government agencies are hanging out together, but I actually recently found out it's not the case. Like there's a lot of infighting, and they hide information because they all want the spotlight. It's all someone, it's basically an individual with a title, whether they're working for whatever alphabet at the time. And I've been focused on that idea and thinking, I wonder if there's someone in another regulatory framework that actually sees the weakness of how they might not even like what they're like, oh man, the SEC is like really messing it up for us. Like, we really could have put the control on them, but like now they're like, because of this weak, it's just interesting. So I'm wondering if people like laughing at Gary behind his back inside of like the actual inside of the actual government, man. Like, could have done this a little better, or we could, but because like certain people have such a power grab, they actually like kind of, and I feel like cryptocurrency and the lawyers and the people that were around Ripple had such a better understanding of the future of where the case could kind of go to in a way too. The SEC didn't have a lot of experience. It's almost like crypto is a bull. The bull knows how to run around and move around. Like if you've never rid a bull before, so like they've regulated stocks and all this stuff, but like they've never done this. Like this is something they've never done. And crypto is more like, okay, like, but the thing I thought was interesting was this is such a simple concept. Like this has been going on for so long. And me and you have talked about the fair, a fair case, right? Giving someone fair notice. We've talked about it more than once.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange that something that like, why couldn't something that simple just have been like, why was it takes 18 months to be like, like when you didn't give fair notice, you can give fair notice. And like all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, you didn't get, it takes that long for like discovery and for the judge to see all the, like, what takes this long for something that simple?
Right. So let me just break this down. This is so funny. This case, it's been kind of, educational, obviously too, with going, I knew nothing about law before I got into crypto, got into cryptocurrency. Didn't think I was going to get a law degree.
I thought you knew about breaking the law. You know,
You're right. So it's like, it's wild that it's taken this long. I mean, yes, cases do take, sometimes years, but with this case especially, the SEC brought this case, as I talked about in the last stream we did. Jay Clayton, the past SEC chair, brought this case on the last day of his administration. So it was always shady from the beginning. So you're telling me, and then 6 people that like brought within the SEC that like put the case together, they brought the case and then they left the SEC a week later. So then you just drop this huge, like the biggest securities case in the history of the country, basically, on the next administration, right? And then we had COVID, and then we had everything else. Shouldn't say that, but then we had everything going on, obviously the current events. So it kind of that made it, delayed everything too, because you couldn't have the depositions and the interviews and stuff like that. And most of those you want face to face because those are so important when you have interviews. So I think that's the reason for most delays. But then it was supposed to end last September, and then that's when the SEC started using the delay tactic of just basically, asking for extensions over and over again with any filing they had. They were like, "Can we get an extra 3 weeks? Can we get an extra month? Can we get an extra 2 weeks?" And the judge was basically being, fair, but obviously giving the SEC that extension every time. And now look at us, we're in March, and this thing started last a year and 3 months ago.
Now, people were worried. There was a little fear going through the market about, I'd say 3.5 months ago, there was some like negative press about this, and everyone was like, watch out. I never gave it much, I didn't give it a lot of attention, but I saw a lot of other YouTubers jump into the fear, is Cardano next? Like your crypto's next. Does this lighten that fear a little bit, or do you think they just keep coming? Do you think, because my friend, an older man who's been through, just watching governments his whole life, and he says, this won't do nothing. Like they won't stop. Like they'll find another way, and unless we do actually get this executive order to kick in a very democratic light, as Mike Novogratz called it.
Well, the best way we can actually get regulation through is not through the SEC, not through the executive order. It's through Congress. Congress, if they do a bipartisan, right, has to be bipartisan, or it's just if Republicans do something, the next administration, the Democrats will just undo it. It's what they do with everything, right? But if they do it bipartisan, where Republican Democrats get together, and it seems like they're actually getting their shit together, getting their act together right now. There's a lot of congressmen putting out, bills and legislation. Hopefully it will get pushed. You know how things move in Congress, very slow, but it looks like they're getting a little, moving up a little faster. But if they can get together with, congressmen on both sides of the aisle, get this through, then that's the only way you can make solid regulation and have it stand the test of time, right? Because, like I said, if the Democrats decide to do something, they try to ban crypto or something, right? Then when the Republicans take over after the midterms, they'll just undo it and just go back and forth. So it needs to be bipartisan for this to stand the test of time.
This is what's been so sad about our government lately is we used to have back and forth, and I get it. And I guess maybe more of this happened than we realized.
Well, we used to have compromise.
But even like I won't even say the names, but like one dude takes billions of dollars and makes a gigantic wall full of metal and Kevlar, I heard, right? And then I heard the other dude takes it down and it's sitting on the side of the road. But who pay? We all pay for that. So what about us? Like, what about us? Like, while one dude does something, the other dude doesn't done something, and like while one guy lives, like, what is going on? Like, how does that help our entire country? Like, and why is it? It's like watching your wife, which my wife doesn't do, thank God. But it's like if you did, it's like watching your wife buy a brand new coat, like then like rip it, decide she doesn't want it, like try to send it back, like buy another one, like, and it's like she ends up with nothing but a bunch of garbage, and you're like down thousands of dollars, and you get nothing out of it. I just, and then they want people to trust the government and pay, and everyone's like, well, what am I paying for? And then the dollar's getting higher, and the taxes are getting worse, and the people's lives are getting harder, and the gas and the the average person, thank God I work from home. Like I barely have to move my car. Like, and my daughter's school is like a half a block away. It takes me like 3 minutes to get there. So like on a given day, like, I could probably, my car would sit there. Like sometimes I have to drive my car and make sure it's still working, just to get the oil to flow through it. But like blessings, another reason why, and a lot of people do work from home, but I'm just, and another reason why XRP getting hit this way, a lot of people had invested a lot of money in XRP, and everyone knows right now the market's not amazing, but I'm telling you, actually it's pretty strong right now, given it at its 80 cents right now. It's pretty strong, but I think it still would be sitting 160. I think it'll be holding above $1, 150. We never know for sure, but XRP was the first thing to start getting lit in October. I'll never forget it. It was flying. And that
I'll never forget it either.
Was about to just, it looked like it was going for the 331.
Well, we talked, Sam, we talked about this last time too. Like, imagine, right? So that was November. I think the bull run really started the new year of 2021, I want to say. And at the end of that year, November, I remember I was in Costa Rica at the time. And that's when you're talking about the XRP had that run up from like, 23 cents. All of a sudden it was up to 75 cents in like 2 days. Right. And then it settled basically at like 69 cents, 68 cents. And then that's when and then a month or 2 weeks later, that's when the case came down on XRP. And then all of a sudden XRP's plummeting and the rest of the market is starting its bull run. So, I mean, who knows what the price would have been? That's the thing. And that's the timing is very questionable too. It's like, did they know that we were about to, because it is a manipulated market.
It was so weird. It was
like,
so
it's just a weird timing for
weird.
Like, all right, we're going to come down. Like, you guys going to start the market and then we're going to, slap the case on you. And then we're going to let the rest of the market go.
Someone running up the stairs and like, they were about to like step on like the first stair at the top. And there's a rug there, when you get your first foot at the top, right? Like you have to like, and you just like, whoop, and like that person just fell right back down the stairs. It was weird. It sent a repercussion through the whole market because everyone was like,
and back to shadiness, governments and stuff. It's like, this is kind of, I don't know if you want to call it conspiracy theory, but I mean, these are facts. So when this is back in 2018, after Bill Hinman gave his speech and gave Bitcoin and Ethereum, I got little kids about to run in the house.
That's great.
So when Ethereum and Bitcoin got their free pass, they brought in Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, and then the CTO, David Schwartz of Ripple, in to talk to Jay Clayton and every other commissioners at the SEC. Hold on one second, guys. They brought in, sorry, my little nephew came in. So they brought him in for a meeting at the SEC, right? And Brad Garlinghouse, this is right after Hinman's speech. So Brad Garlinghouse goes to the commissioners and says, hey, you guys just gave Ethereum and Bitcoin, clarity. Like, what about XRP? Like, we're kind of in this purgatory state. What's the deal? And basically they were like, well, we should talk about that here, but tell us more about your technology. Tell us more about what you're doing as a business stuff. We don't want to give any clarity in the market, but give us all your business side. What are you trying to do? Like literally trying to steal their business. And then it's kind of shady, getting into conspiracy theories or whatever. But Jay Clayton, his law firm that he worked for, also worked for the Ethereum Alliance. So it's like, and then all of a sudden, Joe Lubin comes up with Quorum, JP Morgan coin. Obviously, we know that Ethereum now is basically not owned, but backed by JP Morgan. So basically, Jay Clayton was giving his Ripple's competitors the ideas what Ripple was trying to do. It's like, you're not trying to give us clarity, but you're trying to take our business strategy. It's very shady stuff going on within the SEC. I'm telling you guys.
Now,
I mean,
the problem with that is cryptocurrency was kind of created. See, this is the dichotomy of this all. Cryptocurrency is created after 2008 because people don't trust the banking system, and because and why didn't they trust the banking system? Because there was so much greed. What really happened, because a lot of people and I'm going to gloss over it. I'm not going to break it down into it, all the bit of it, but I'm going to give you a nice rounded explanation so you could pass it on to the layman. there was mortgage fault to swap, mortgage swaps, basically fault to swaps, meaning someone could have a mortgage and default on it, and a bank would buy that one because it was good debt considered. Like they could sell that debt to someone else, and over time they figure the house could recover and it would be you could gain on buying the debt. But what they would do is they wouldn't buy one house, they would buy 100 houses at once, 500 houses at a time, and they would bundle them into these boxes of mortgages. But what they kept doing is they were giving them ratings way higher than they were. So they'd say like this bundle is a B plus, but it was like a C. At first it was A minus, and then as the ratings fell, because they would give ratings to these bundles based on how much debt it held compared to how many people defaulted, compared to the dollar value, the interest rate, and then the world market value for that bundle, right? And then kind of a projected futures idea based on some idea of projected movement. But again, there's so many bells and whistles to ups and downs to what's going to happen in the next few years, especially where the market was at. They knew that, and they changed the metrics too as well. So like someone damn well knew that like those were sick debt, those were sick boxes of debt, but they kept labeling them with stamps of oh yeah, it's good enough, and they kept getting passed on. And so and then everyone wanted to just keep signing people up to mortgages even though they knew they couldn't afford them. And you could see they were going to get defaulted. So from the beginning, the output was getting sent in bad, and what was already there was getting labeled incorrectly. And that created a swamp, and it was the constant greed, right? So now you have the same system basically. And then who writes mortgages? Banks, right? Who backs banks? Giant institutions and hedge funds, and then the name Goldman Sachs comes up, right? And then who worked for Goldman Sachs but Gary Gensler? And so it's so hard for people to want to lay in bed with this type of pejorative behavior when it's already been shown so many times before. And then they want to regulate the thing that was created out of the behavior. It's such an interesting thing to me right now, and it's almost like crypto makes the powers that be eventually bend. It's eventually like, do the right thing. Like it's a technology that kept saying like, when are you going to do the right thing? Because if you don't, we're going to put you on a ledger and we're going to see everything you did. So like, and they're like, oh my, and then they're almost afraid of it. They're like, because once I let it out, I'll be on a ledger myself. And it's like, I mean, and then it does come to this. What is your idea? Because I put the Great Reset in here. What is your idea to this idea that XRP is the world ledger that we'll all be connected to, somehow connected to gold with Quant, XLM, Algorand? Like there's these they call them institutional rebuilding coin. I don't know, Great Reset coins. Like, just give us your idea. You just take us down the rabbit hole. I've never really heard your conspiracy theories on this, completely.
Yeah. Before I get into, just let me touch on what you were just talking about with the government agencies, and just kind of, I was calling it, saying I was, being a conspiracy theorist, but they make us feel like we're conspiracy theorists sometimes when we're talking about like corruption and all that stuff. But like you just said, this has been running deep within government agencies for years. So for us to call these people up and question their motives, I mean, is that really being a conspiracy theorist? No. I mean, you guys, look what I just saw. JP Morgan was manipulating the metals markets for 8 years. 8 years, making billions of dollars, right? Well, it's just, $100 million.
Silver should be $50 an ounce or $100 an ounce by now. Crazy.
But just imagine these people, these banks. I think I did a video the other day. I think it was like up to $240 billion of fines given out to the top banks in this country for fraudulent behavior, money laundering, manipulating markets. I mean, and they just get a little slap on the wrist. Like, they're making billions of dollars. You're going to give them a $100 million fine. That's like, for us, that's like $100. Like, oh, here, yeah, take $100, get out of here. And they write the rules. That's the thing too. That's funny that people don't understand. The lobbyists, that lobby in Congress, they basically, pay these politicians to write the rules. So the banks make the rules that regulate themselves. And then you have people that work within the banks and the law firms in the banks working for the SEC and the regulators. So then they also make the rules for themselves. So you're telling me, then you're going to yell at us and call us conspiracy theorists because we're calling out your conflicts of interest. It's like, give us a break, right? It's like, come on now. But back into the reset,
the kettle black. Isn't that the say?
What?
They say the cat calling the kettle black, an old saying.
Right. but into the great reset, or you want to call it, I mean, something has to happen, right? I mean, look at the debt, $30 trillion. Like, and they act like they don't care at this point, right? They just like keep printing whatever. It's almost like they want it to come and crash down, right? And they're like setting themselves up for it. And like, obviously, who's going to get hurt the most? The ordinary person, right? Taxpayer is going to get, ruined. But how does XRP and how does all these other coins fit into that? I don't. You can also always speculate on what the XRP ledger is like built for. It's like almost perfectly built for like moving value, all around the world. It's like fast, it's cheap, it's scalable. It's hard to like not think that they could do that. I mean, it's an option. If they want to basically get rid of all the debt, they could do it, right? So, and then Quant, I like that you mentioned Quant. Quant is basically the interoperability token that like keeps, it's like the nerve center, right? It keeps everything interoperable, so you can basically have one big system, one big global payment system. Which, I mean, I talk about this a lot. It's like people didn't know what the internet was, right? And then all of a sudden, the internet is like people. Internet's like something that is so normal to everybody. That's what crypto is becoming. Like, people are like, I don't understand that. I don't know what it is. But at some point, with payment systems and smart contracts and everything that has to do with crypto, it's just going to be normal life, right? You're just going to be like, oh, I know how to use this. Like, I don't need to know the technology.
No, people don't even know like how their computer's pinging their wireless printer. Like, people don't know how a lot of things are working.
Yeah, these companies are really great at making things user friendly, right? Like when the first iPhone came out, I remember being like, this is like a 2-year-old could figure this out. It's like, you don't need to understand the technology behind it, the coding behind things. Like, people don't understand the coding behind email, but they know that they can write a message, send it out, and it goes halfway across the world instantly, right? And that's where crypto comes in. If you can send information like that, why can't you send money like that? Why we have this big SWIFT system that you send money, it takes 3 to 5 days. They give you like 4 fees on it. It just costs money. It's slow. That's where it's like, that's where crypto comes in, where that can speed up the whole world economy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, institutions got into the game of finance to make money on their money. We all know that. And they started credit cards at one point. I'm sure at one point there was some guy who had a firm and he was like, what is this thing? But they got into that, and look what that did for them.
Well, you always talk about the mortgage, dude.
Right? Yeah. Like, they just create more and more products to sell, and cryptocurrency, sad, it is going to be, it's like everything else. It's just like, a firearm. I'll say it with my Boston accent, a firearm. It can be used to protect you. It could be used to someone who needs to survive, and it can be used in a horrible manner, right? And cryptocurrency has such power, and anything that can harness that amount of energy can be used for good and bad, and I think we will see a little bit of both. And I mean, and when I mean bad, I mean like, you'll probably see mortgages wrapped up in cryptocurrency, and like, meaning like they'll be able to sell more of the products that they've already created easier with less fees for themselves,
Yeah, you're touching on a real good subject there. It's obviously, and that's the big thing.
I never even thought about what I just said, actually. Like, it just kind of came out like while we were sitting here,
No, but it's true, because if you look at politicians right now, like Elizabeth Warren, right? She's our Massachusetts senator. She just is coming out hard against crypto, calling it, it's for money laundering. It's for only used for criminals, right? It's nothing good about crypto, right? This is the type of thing that I can't get with, because yes, obviously anything can be used in nefarious ways. Like, the dollar's been used for money laundering for years. Like,
yeah,
you can't just say, all right, we got to regulate hard on this thing because it can be used in some bad ways. Like, if we did that with the internet.
well, that's why the censorship recently gets scary, because you start wondering, do we live in the Matrix? Am I in a little God,
day,
I'm,
man.
like surrounded by water and I think I'm alive. You know, it's like, and generations from now won't even know what it was like to feel what we felt. And that's what worries me, you know, the chip away theory. You know, and I'm not going to get too deep because I just want to keep it light, but like
Sam,
we
we'll
take a
get
little bit
deep.
away each time, every generation, until next thing you know, 100 years has gone by and people have no rights, you know?
The quick little like snippet. I've been having this conversation with my brother and my cousins lately. The movie The Matrix, right? Everybody's seen The Matrix. You know how they're all like human beings are used as batteries and then those little pods and they're hooked up to their brain using them as energy. The metaverse, right? We're basically doing this to ourselves. We're going to be hooked up to our center, like hooked up to the metaverse. Everybody's going to be in their home, just like it's like we're doing it for them, dude. It's kind of like scary to think about. It's like, yeah, the metaverse is going to be a great thing, but we're kind of like doing them, you know, it's like we're recreating the Matrix ourselves by like hooking up to the metaverse and the Matrix. But I just thought that was interesting because, you know, what is the world going to look like 5 to 10 years from now with everything happening? It's a very, you know, everything right now is obviously with the current events, the geopolitical events, everything around the world right now. I think that's why the markets are all just everywhere. Like the commodities are up, dollars up, Bitcoins, you know, everything is every which way because people have no idea what's going to happen, right? Sometimes you can kind of see how the future is going to unfold, but right now everybody's like, we're going to have World War III, what is going to happen? So I think that's why the markets are just so out of whack. You know, obviously it has a lot to do with, you know, the money printing and I thought it was funny recently. I think it was Nancy Pelosi came out and said, you know, inflation isn't going up because we spent so much money. It's like, what? Like, were you going to gaslight us like that? Like what? I mean, it's funny when, you know, and now they're trying to use this conflict as an excuse of why the inflation's happening or why gas prices are going up. And it's like you see more and more of this of just, you know, excuses. It's like, oh, well, now this happened. Now we use this as an excuse to make people, you know, look the other way as we're doing something else. You know, it's always a distraction. Everything is always to distract us from this so they can do this. You know, it's like that's been going on for years. And then obviously with media, I mean, they've learned how they've you know monopolized that game from day one, right? And me and you have had these little conversations many times about how the media just loves to manipulate information and the facts. And like you were just talking about with you know, Twitter and Facebook clamping down on and you know, not letting everybody have a say. If you don't agree with me politically, you're going to just shut me off. It's like, where did it all of a sudden come to the where all of a sudden now if you don't agree with me in a social or political sphere, am I just cut off from the conversation? And that's where you lose me. That's where you lose most of Americans and people around the world, I think. You know, that's why I think decentralized platforms are the future. Decentralized finance, decentralized everything is the future because you can't trust decentralized.
Well, they say nothing's a coincidence. And it's interesting how there seems to be a like, right, these powers and these powers, like, and as this ramps up, decentralization also ramps up. It's just so interesting to me how there's always seems to be a yin and yang in this universe to almost all aspects. And there's a balance, right? And we see it happening, play out now in front of us with crypto. I have a lot of faith in Charles Hawkinson and whatever he plans to do. And a lot of people, I don't think they realize the scope of what he can do. I think everyone's waiting for that quick buck and the fast hit. But also, you know, I was on a forum one day. It always happens with like a small Reddit story. But I was on Reddit somewhere and someone was like, oh, you can have your Solana robot chain, you know, and you all can be robots in the Matrix with your Solana chain. And I was like, what is he saying? And like, I did some deep dives on it. And, you know, I'm not the only one. I don't know if you heard Rice on BitBoy, but he was saying, shout out to Rice, check him out, Rice TV. But he was saying, you know, did you realize that, you know, that basically these companies and these, you know, you want to be decentralized. He's like, Solana is not decentralized. Like, it can shut you off. Like, it's basically a corporate chain in a way, right? And soon too, the nodes will be so expensive for Solana and people who run the chain. It'll basically, and that's what I worry almost for a lot of chains, even chains that want to aim to be decentralized. happens when a node becomes 100 grand, when the market rips and Bitcoin hits 90,000, like a phantom node. And so, you know, the only people who can buy a node and secure the network are someone with like 200, a quarter mil, you know. And I'm not saying all those, hopefully there'll be some whales in here that come from the depths of crypto and have that money. But in general, it's financial institutions. And so you could even have chains that would love to have been decentralized and planned it all along. But if a node gets so expensive that an average person can't involve themselves with it, and that's why I like Mina protocol. There are some coins out there that go out of their way to create, you know, everyone can mine on their phone, or everyone can be part of the network and secure the network. And that way it lets everyone become a part of it. And that's like truly decentralization. So you can write your white paper and your coin can look perfectly decentralized. But as I just said before, if your nodes become so expensive, and that's kind of a, you know, that's a concept I had to come to terms with recently. And there's something, and Solana even has more going on with it, kind of like you can get kind of cut off, you know. I don't know.
I think
yeah, Mina protocol, you can also believe, yeah, this is the chain that it takes a picture of itself. The way they describe Mina protocol, which is interesting, is say you dug a hole on your property and you found gold and you wanted to show everybody. Well, you would take a picture, you wouldn't bring the gold, you know, if you didn't, you know, if you were going to put it somewhere else. It's just a weird story. But then you dug another hole and found like another, you know, like a chest of something else, silver or something. So you take a picture of them together instead of taking one picture and then another picture. That's a Mina protocol. It kind of keeps taking a picture of itself over and over again. And the entire blockchain can fit in your phone or something. Like, it's tiny. It's like as small as a tweet. That's their idea. Again, I've heard that the back end of their entire protocol runs on Amazon. And so then how, you know, so we're like still fighting with true decentralization, no matter how we try, honestly.
Yeah, that'll be a never-ending battle for sure, right? I mean, the history of humankind. I mean, we're always trying to one up each other or become the leader of whatever. So that's always going to be a battle to have, and that's why, you know, built in the technology, if it can be decentralized, that's why this technology is so interesting, because it can, like, you can kind of form it into a decentralized platform, and it can't be kind of manipulated or I don't know. But what you were saying about Charles Hoskinson, I think, is very important, because I like Cardano a lot, because I like Charles Hoskinson, because you put me on him, and, you know, he's very transparent. He always is, you know, talking to his customers and letting everybody know what he's doing. And he's been doing it slow, but, you know, people have been mad about that, but he's been doing it right. You know, you see, like you're talking about Solana and Luna, everybody's like, it's like a grab for smart contracts, right? It's a grab for DeFi. Everybody's trying to, you know, put out their product as fast as they can, and you're seeing bugs. All of a sudden, Solana had an issue. You know, things like that are going to happen if you're just rushing your platform out. And you've seen the opposite with Cardano. They've slowly, you know, done it right. And I think you could say the same thing about Flare Network. They're doing the same thing. They're slowly making sure everything is good and right before you put it out to the public, because, you know, that's how you lose business. If you put your product out there and then, you know, it crashes, or it somehow, you know, people are getting hacked or something, you know, companies go bust because of things like that. Like OpenSea, what happened with the NFT market, I mean, that could have serious effects on their company. I mean, so I see what you're saying. Like, that's why I do like Cardano, and I think that Cardano will be.
And prove me wrong. I want someone to prove me wrong, and like I want someone to, because like I don't know everything.
Yeah, me either, right? This is the great thing about this space, is that you learn every day. I mean, there's so much to learn in this space, and if you're not, I mean, if you're in this and you think you know everything, then you're out of your mind, right? There's no way you're gonna, and it changes so quickly too, that, you know, like I said, you're learning every day. You're learning new things and new protocols and new software every day, and that's the great thing about this technology, is that you know, you're seeing, and I just saw this the other day. Universities all around the world are starting to have blockchain classes and stuff like that, and they're filling up like they couldn't keep up with the how fast these classes are filling up. Like in Princeton and Yale, and like huge universities are having these blockchain and crypto classes, and they're like booked like years
You can even
People are
pay
like, I
for
want
the blockchain class at Wharton. You can't pay for your like other classes, but you can pay crypto to take the blockchain course at Wharton. You know, UPenn, they're like famous business school that produces billionaires. But me and
it is
me and
for
Crypto
this,
User will become billionaires without that on the low.
right? But it is like the new technology. It's like if back in the 90s when the internet was coming out, like, if you wanted to become a software engineer, I mean, look at those people now. They're making, tons of money. So it's like same thing with crypto. They want to become a coder or a whatever that has to do with crypto. Obviously, there's serious money involved in this technology and in this space in the future. So, the new generation is getting right on it, and they understand this, right? Us older people, we're not, we've slowly been getting it because it's slowly been, technology is getting better and better as we get older. But, these kids are just, in high school and college now, this is like what they grew up with. So it's much easier for them to comprehend some of these things, I think. For us, it's a little, us dinosaurs, it's a little hard to, get with these new protocols. Like I said, every day you're getting a new coin that's doing something different. And that's where the SEC comes in. It's like, you're going to have these life-changing companies that are going to come in, right, and want to start this business. But, what's the best way to fund your platform? They say an ICO is a securities offering and it's illegal. So if you do that, you're going to get sued. But what's the better way to, if you're not crowdfunding, how they got it? That's why they need to give us real regulation and real guidelines, because these up and coming companies that are going to change the world with this technology, they need to be flourished, right? They need to be pushed forward. That BlockFi settlement, it was $100 million, right? And for some companies, that's a lot of money. We're a multi-billion-dollar company, but for a startup, $100 million will put you out of business, right? So, I mean, this is the thing where it's like this regulation by enforcement. It's like, how is that regulation at all? That's just basically, we're not going to give any rules, but do your thing, and then we'll just.
So I
Sued by the SEC at any time, right?
I have a lightning round here. I asked some of the lifers for some questions to ask you. All right. So there are gonna be 5 questions. Growing up, what inspired you the most between the ages of 7 and 14? And is there anything that you still remember from that time that you've carried with you today?
7 through 14, huh? So that's like, it's basically when I moved to the island. Back then, what really inspired me was history. Always inspired me, honestly. I think that's when I realized, when I started, I didn't like school that much. I was good at math. I didn't like, English classes and stuff like that. But when we got into history class, I think that was like when I really my attention was like, I was at the edge of my seat, like, oh, what happened? Like the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, even going back to like the ancient Greeks, ancient Romans. Like, I think all that kind of really inspired me, because I was like, history is, I think people don't, people that say like, oh, whatever, history, whatever. I'm like, history, whatever. I mean, this is literally, history is people messing up, letting you know what not to do in the future, right? That's what history is. It's like, oh, they did this and they made a mistake. Or they gave us basically the guidelines of how to do this right, because they messed it up in this way, right? So it's like, history is the biggest, probably the biggest thing in human nature, because it's literally teaching us what to do in the future, right? Mm-hmm. So when I really got involved in history, I think every class I took, even when I got to high school, I tried to take more and more, any type of history class I was so involved in. And even to this day, I'm like, I watch every documentary. I watch, I read every book. I can't get enough of it, because there's so much out there, and it's so interesting, because like I said, this is how you learn what to do in the future, right? And I can't stand when people try to say, oh, I don't like history. I'm like, how do you not like history, man?
So
that's what always inspires me.
This question kind of comes in with this. if there was two people that have passed away throughout history and you could sit with them and like talk with them, who would they be?
Nikola Tesla, 100%. That guy, if just picking that guy's brain for, hours, I'd be like, what? He's an alien in my eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what that guy, oh my God. And the second person, probably Theodore Roosevelt. That guy was a boss. I don't know if anybody knows their history, but Theodore Roosevelt was an absolute boss. He was like, dude, this crazy story about Theodore Roosevelt. He was president of the United States, right? And he somehow snuck away from the White House and went on a hunting trip in like Africa or something. Didn't even let anybody know. He's the president of the United States. He sneaks away to go on a hunting trip, doesn't tell anybody. What's the president? Oh, I thought you knew who it was. And he snuck away and was like hunting in Africa or something. And he came back. He's like, oh, sorry, I just needed a couple weeks to blow off some steam. Like, he was just such a boss, man. I always think that he's one of the greatest historical figures. But those two guys, I would just love to sit down and have a beer with for sure.
And if you could create a coin, what type of coin would it be? I mean, you don't have to go in depth. Just like, environmental coin, I don't know, XRP ledger coin, behind the scenes payment, or would it be something?
See, that's a hard question, man, because like, who knows, man? I mean, it could be something. I could have an idea tomorrow and come up with it. But at this point, everybody at this point, there's 17,000 plus coins out there. I mean, everybody has kind of figured out a niche they're going after, kind of. And you're having new, like, NFTs weren't even talked about a year ago, right? A year and a half ago, and all of a sudden they're the biggest thing. DeFi really wasn't talked about. It's crazy when we first got into crypto. There wasn't all these, it's amazing how much growth has happened in just a year and a half. It's just amazing. That just shows me that the next, 3 to 5, 10 years, who knows what new coins they're going to come out with. So I really couldn't, I mean, who knows, right? That's all I can say.
What do you say to some people that have gotten in the last 3 months, not really sure what's going on, but they have hope, but they, they're trying to figure out the market, trying to learn how to trade, what do you say to those people?
One word: patience. Patience, guys. Everybody tries to get in this market and like make the big bucks right away. They're like, oh, my buddy made, $10,000 in Dogecoin. I gotta, put some money in this and make money. Just have patience, man. Just if you're getting this and you're getting in this thing in the last 3 months, obviously it's been not the greatest 3 months that you've seen in crypto. So the greatest thing that I can say to people is just, dollar cost average. Slowly, don't put all your money into something and think, first of all, do your research, do some serious research into the coins that you think that have a viable future, but also just slowly get in, like add $50 to your paycheck here, $100 there, dollar cost average, slowly get into this market. Don't just try to think that you're going to get market and get rich quick, because it happens for like the one in, every 100,000 people, but the normal person has gotten wrecked in this market because they think this is gambling, and then they can just throw money at meme coins and make $1 million, right? So the biggest thing is to stay patient. The whole biggest thing of investment is being patient, right? That's what they teach you, investment 101. You got to be patient, because these markets, obviously in the crypto market especially, these things can flip very fast, right? And your portfolio can dump. But the thing about this, and the second thing I'll say, is zoom out, right? If you look at a monthly chart, crypto has been going, in the small charts, it's been going up and down. But if you look at a long-term chart, this thing has been going like this, right? So if you just put your money now and wait 10 years, you're going to be in the green. That's like 100%, right? So if you think of it as like a retirement fund, everyday investor, think of it as a retirement fund. Think of it as a long-term investment, right? HODL is one of our phrases we've always used. So just hold on, guys, and be patient, right? That's the biggest thing I can say, is patience is the key. And that's something that I, obviously 5 years into this, I've learned pretty much how to just take the emotion out and just, be patient as I can be.
I've never get a phone call from you. He's never, he's never stressed out. Never once did he like say, you got me into this. And,
I've gotten those calls,
but like, you've never called, like, I've never, like, if anything, I get a text from you and you're like, I see 41, 38, and like, we're going to rest easy. Like, and I'm like, you're like, eh. And you're actually pretty good at long-term market calls. You don't try to claim to make them. I just kind of pull them out of you when I ask, but you seem to always have a pretty clear head about the market. And because you're not
Yeah,
so emotional, you're kind
I
of
think
like,
that
yeah, I mean, there's the bottom, like, and it's like, yeah,
I think the way I approach the market is I try to get, and I think it goes back to what you were talking about with what inspired me, history and stuff. When I get into something that I enjoy or I am passionate about, I really get into it. And I think you're the same way as me. And so when I try to get a picture of what's happening in the market, I try to get literally every perspective out there and then come to my own conclusion. So it's like I'll look at the commodities markets, I'll look at the Dow, I'll look at the dominance charts. Like I look at
market
every
just
single
ripped.
chart.
The market
I won't
just
even
ripped
look at
too, by the
Bitcoin.
way. Just so everybody knows, the market just ripped. Like I was in a
Because
trade
we were
down
on, dude.
500. I'm now up 200. Like that's how big the market just ripped. Like,
So yeah, so it's like, you try to get every perspective, and I try to make my opinion, but especially recently, everybody's kind of like zoomed into the crypto market and like, oh, why is it crashing? Why is it crashing? It's like, dude, look at the whole world doing what it's doing. And obviously the world was like collapsing around everybody, and people were trying to just focus on crypto. So I think, and back to that, what we talked about at the beginning of the channel, crypto holding and Bitcoin especially holding strong during all this madness, right? You didn't see when that one day when commodities was going up, DXY was going up, everything was like, there was so much fear in the market. Bitcoin kind of just did this, right? 39, 40,000, just staying steady. So I think there's some serious stability in crypto right now. That's why I believe we kind of hit our bottom. And yeah, we could, test a lower, 30,000 maybe. But from then on, I don't see us really going lower than that. I think there's such a strong.
I'll be nice enough to give my risk assessment. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. However, if you watch my track record, I was online at 88, 8,800, 9,600, showing the bottom of a wedge and a measured move to 27,000. I looked at the bottom at 30K and went in hard, 29.5 in that area. We bounced super awesome. We came back down. I called another bottom at 40,000. We would rip to 69. I would call bearish divergence at 69 and looked like we were going to pull back. I couldn't say when, but we called the top. That would come down. We've been trying to find the bottom ever since. The live stream has done that for me because I show up every day. The market's whipped me into shape. It's like picking up weights. Eventually, you're going to get muscled, right? Anchor's pumping hard right now. It just did a huge pump off of its long-term. Like it's been down in this downtrend since it kind of came down on March 5th. So about a week it's been, and it broke that resistance with big volume and some nice candles sitting at 317. Just
That's good to see us on a Sunday, honestly, man.
Yeah, well, what's funny is if you watch my channel, like we're getting, me as a team too, we're getting better. You can't ever say exactly the day, but when you watch stochastics over and over and over and over again, and like, so when you see the 4 hours high on a Wednesday, right? So the 4 hours high on a Wednesday, right? It takes between 2 or 3 days for the 4 hour to reset, in general, right? Depending, we've seen it reset in 2 hours when they dump the market. But, in general, if you go to the probability of it and you back test it, you'll find it's like 2 to 3 days, 36 to 40 hours, 20, 28, 24 to 40 hours, somewhere in there. And when we looked at it, I think we were high on like my Thursday stream in the morning. And I said, this is setting up because the 4 hour will be low by Sunday or Saturday night. Right. And it was like, this is kind of setting up for a pump somewhere. I don't know when, but like Saturday night into Monday morning, we try to make some long-term assessments on the market. And I found I never did it before because I never knew the Stokes well enough. But I found over time, we're not perfect, but I'm getting better at like even gauging a 20 to 15 hour time frame where I believe because it makes sense, like you're like, well, that's when the 4 hour reset. And then if things are healthy, we should get the bounce. And then you set up support and resistance. You'll see there's no such thing as a coincidence. So many times you'll see your Stokes coming down and you see the price come down, and you'll see your support, and you're like, wow, like that'll hit support, and my Stokes will bend, and like you'll see it before it happens, and then when it happens, you're like, oh, and that's how you play support and resistance, like with the stochastics in mind. They work in tandem together. It's a really beautiful thing if you can get them to work together, you know. But I looked at the risk assessment for Bitcoin right now, and I said, horrible world, like world towards the complete shambles. Then like I'm not like, and I'm gonna be running around with my Bitcoin, and like I won't even care what price it is. I'll just know I have something to live on, and like we're gonna all have to.
Right.
So like at that point, whatever, right? Anything above that to me is like a $10,000 to $15,000 Bitcoin. Like I honestly, you know, like world just, you know, we see the Dow dump 20-30%. They take us, you know, and you know, we see gas prices explode, all this stuff. But honestly, if I see gas prices explode, I see Bitcoin going up with gas prices, because Bitcoin becomes a place you have to go when Bitcoin, like right now, I need to buy gas next week. It would be smart of me to purchase Bitcoin, because it's a better idea that in the next year, Bitcoin will be worth more than the dollar compared to the gasoline, you know? So it's
like that black swan event like that happened, what would be the first thing to rebound the best? Obviously crypto, because I'm like, after you crash the dollar, you crash the stock market, why would I want to get back into that system that you guys just basically rug pulled us, right? So it's like, that's where crypto is going to be such that like, wait,
exactly,
I don't trust anybody anymore.
First, crypto was just the nerdy guys who were in online, right? And then people that turned other people on, and then it kept expanding. And now it's going to be just the person who just wants to get off the boat. You know what I'm saying? Like people would just be like, oh, like I don't have a choice. And then there's going to be people like my sister. She bought a Bitcoin at 8,800, and now she's going to say something to a girlfriend of hers. Maybe she's pretty quiet, but you never know. She might just tell someone, hey, you know, I got into Bitcoin at this price, and that person will be like, wow, like I wonder. The average person's going to start having a story, not just the crypto lifer. You get what I'm saying? Like, and look what's growing. So the average person is growing, and that's what I plan to do. Like we're pushing mass adoption at my channel. Right now we're doing it.
And look what just happened in Russia, right? That's like a microcosm of what could happen in the world, right? Like you basically cut off a country from the world economy, and the ruble, the currency, just dropped like 50%, right? Even more than that. And what did most Russians do? Obviously, Russians weren't going to go rush to the bank to get their worthless, you know, currency. They weren't going to go try to buy gold, because, you know, running down the street or hiding from a war zone with a backpack full of gold. Get somewhere, if you can hide that ledger better than you can hide a truckload of gold, right? Sorry, Peter Schiff, but I think that's the main thing that people.
No, it gets to the point where, like, and honestly, if you vacuum seal your 24-word seed phrase, you could jump in the gosh damn water. You could get thrown in the freaking water, okay? And you could have freaking $10 million, and you could end up on shore, and you'd be like, yo, I have my, like, if it stayed on you and it was in like a zip pocket, and like your bag of gold ain't going with you off the freaking boat. Like it ain't going. Your Bitcoin is. This is people. You could jump out the plane with the Bitcoin. You know, like you ain't jumping out the plane with all your silver and gold. Like it ain't happening. Like, you know, it's just people. At one point, that's going to be what people realize is what they need is complete security.
And I think a lot of, not just Russia. Look what happened in Canada. Like when you're seeing governments can take your bank accounts, like really get in there. I mean, they can always do that. I mean, if anybody had never like, you know, missed their taxes or something, and all of a sudden the tax man, the IRS just goes in your bank account, takes your money. It's like they could do this for years, but now it's like with Canada saying, oh, if you're a terrorist, we can just take you can call anybody a terrorist, or anybody that you disagree with, you can just take their money out of it.
And anyone associated with them can get completely just greased. You know, it's just like take anything that's anything, you know.
I saw the headline,
and that can be corrupted, right, over time, because it's like, well, who's to say who's who and who can grab who's, and it kind of opens the door to grab it. Like, okay, you grab mine, I'll grab yours. Like, okay, like, you know, like it gets crazy. Like, you know,
if there's something we can all agree on, is that if any new system or any whatever it is, at some point in time, it will, some way they will figure out a way to adopt it, right? It will be, it will somehow become centralized where people will try to, make money off of everybody else, right? Always, that's human nature to like, if you like the system is like a perfect system, right? But at some point, there was too much money funneled into one area. And then there's obviously, it's like a capitalist, it's like a centralized capitalist country now, because you have a small group of people own basically 95% of the wealth. So I mean that's not sustainable, obviously, right? So that's where crypto. Oh, lost you guys. Hold on.
Lost me?
I'm on Telegram. Hold on. Keep going. Keep going.
All right.
Hold on. I'm back.
He is on and on. All right, family. I got to take my family out for breakfast.
Yeah, sure.
It's Sunday morning. Porter, thank you so much. We are producing on the back end. Thank you so much. Amazing time to be alive. Amazing time to be here. We do have a little latency on my part. I so apologize to each and every one of you watching. If you made it through and you still heard the good information, hopefully you're watching on your phone or listening as it was a podcast. You could get the same feeling out of it. I should have just worn a mask. I was thinking about that. I could have just worn like a mask, like something interesting. But we could have made it, no one would have known. But we'll figure it out. We're gonna work on it till we get it going. But shout out to everyone here that stuck through with all of us. There's my awesome daughter. Yeah. Okay.
She must be getting big, huh?
Oh yeah. So thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you sticking it through. This is interesting. Oh, one last question. Do you think this is going to be over soon?
Well, the Russia?
No, the XRP case. Like I just.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Like October. I feel like October or something.
So here's what.
I don't know if that's still happening, but people were saying sometimes he was getting cut off when. I don't know though. I can't confirm. I just read it in the comment section a few times, but I don't know.
All right, I'll just you can see what happens. But so what is still crazy about this case is that the SEC is still using this delay tactic, right? The 63 emails, the next big thing in this case is those 63 emails involving the Hinman speech, right? So the judge will make a ruling on that, I believe, in a couple days, any day now, honestly. But what everybody knows is that as soon as that ruling comes down, if it's against the SEC, they'll appeal that, right? They'll appeal that ruling, and that'll take another 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And then the judge will finally make another decision on the appeal. But then even after that decision, the SEC can make another appeal. So that this is the only last tactic they have. They're going to lose at this point. Like I said, it's 100% sure that Ripple, if they take this the full way in a case, Ripple will win this, right? But the SEC, when you have a settlement, you want, the only power the SEC has is this delay tactic, right? Because obviously being involved in this lawsuit, Ripple's, losing money. They're paying lawyer fees. They're losing business in the U.S. They're basically cut off from business in the U.S. So by the SEC delaying as much as they can,
that's saying he's still getting cut off when he's talking, when you show a screen every time, so they can't hear what he's saying or finish his thoughts. It becomes muted when looking at an article. Otherwise, it's fine.
Well, I hope you guys just got that a little bit, but yeah, I think it is delaying a little bit. I can see.
Sorry, everyone. We're working with the team. We're working
it out. I hope you got that. But basically, what I see, I'll just fast forward to seeing where I.
April, this will be perfect. We'll have amazing ciphers.
When I see this case settling is in after the delays that the SEC can make. I think it's going to be a month. I'm not going to say weekly now because it's going to be the SEC can delay this a month, at least a month. They're talking about they're already having the discussions about settlement already. So it could be any day now. But I'm going to go out there on a limb and say probably in about a month. I say
Interesting
sometime.
comment here. Funny how the SEC has them in court, yet NASDAQ, Ripple, and Liquid Pool XRPLX has been active this entire case. I don't even know much about that. See, because I don't study much about the NASDAQ Liquid Pool of XRPLX.
I don't even know what that is either. But one quick thing to end this. The funny thing about all this, right? If the SEC actually thought that XRP was a security from selling XRP, they would have filed an injunction in the beginning of this case to stop Ripple from selling XRP, right? They didn't do that. During this whole case, Ripple's been selling XRP. Jeb McCaleb has been selling XRP. The only people they cut off were everyday people, the retail investor. So it's funny to think that if they really thought this was an illegal securities offering, they would have stopped the sale of XRP. They didn't. So it was never about XRP being a security. I think it was a power grab by the SEC. They thought it would be an easy case. You know, one of the big obviously it was the top 3 cryptocurrency. You know, let's go after them, get a big settlement, and like really put some fear into this market. But you know, I don't think they were prepared for the powerhouse that Ripple is with their lawyers and the money behind them. So I think the power of the SEC is going to be, I think the CFTC is going to take a little bit of power away from the SEC, I believe, because I think that's who should be regulating this space anyway. But I'll leave it at that.
No worries, no worries. All right, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when we post our next video. Please check out Crypto Muser at his YouTube channel. Follow him also on Twitter, right? You on Twitter?
Yep.
Your Twitter handle?
Yep. Crypto Muser
at Twitter. And check him out. Follow him. He's making videos every single day about all different types of topics. He does focus on XRP, but he goes through many different aspects. I'm pretty sure he'll find a gem, something that I haven't thought about. Check him out. Watch his channel. He'll also be on my channel. He's growing every day. And, yeah, he's making content for the crypto world, doing his thing, throwing his hat into the ring. And someone asked about Beer Swap. I think it was Brew Swap. Brew Labs. Look at that tonight on the channel. We did get a $10 super chat or $5 something came in, $10 something from another country or something. It's $7.29 in chat revenue. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the live. Someone actually was like, "Whenever you're ready, let me see you go through this coin." And I was like, "Oh, so they think I'm a robot?" Like,
sometimes we all think you're a robot, bro.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I think I'm a robot. It's crazy. But thanks everyone for coming. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Check out I already say it. Check out Crypto Muser. And thank you for being here. I'll be on tonight, same time, 8 o'clock. And again, this is the first time that we're going to actually be on for the real weekly candle close. Not the first time. When I started the channel, we were back at the right time, and the candle would close at 8 p.m. But then when we went back, they didn't, right? So the candle still closed at 12 UTC, but my time was 7 p.m. technically. You know, like I was on at 8, but it was 7 technically.
That's right. That's right.
And so I was missing the candle close, or I was an hour after it, whatever happened. However it's going to work out now, I'm now matched back to the actual time. So right as I start, the candle will close. Yeah, kind of cool because there's a little bit of movement right then. So tonight is going to be crazy. If you know anything about weekly candle closes, highly volatile. I also promised a coin at the end of this if you stuck through the entire live stream. All right. And I always have to come through with my promise. Something that I'm looking at, and nothing's guaranteed.
Give people what they want
in 2 seconds. But I'm looking at this coin. I'll share my screen here for a second. I'm looking at this coin here right now and a bit of this tight little pennant. And you can even maybe it's in this channel, but it could also be in this tighter channel here. Getting tight. It's called XHV Haven Protocol at 308. You know, showing some signs of life. Brand new coin, high risk, high reward. Getting tight, low stochastics wanting to turn. This thing could make a bit of a move. 110% gains possible is the measured move. But again, this is something I'm looking at. You do your own research, chart it out yourself, and you'd have to feel comfortable with that. I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I do and say here should be taken as financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. All right. Crypto Lifer. Over and out. Crypto is life, everybody. Thank you.